Yeah, so I think now it is already 11 o'clock. So without much ado, let's get started. And in the event is getting streamed. Welcome everybody to this next session of Gita Jayanti, the online Parayan, Bhagavad Gita Parayan and Satsang, which we are holding for the past 5 sessions. Today is the 6th session. Today is a very auspicious day. Today is Gayatri Jayanti as well as Nirjala Ekadashi. On this very auspicious occasion, we are very happy to have this session of Bhagavad Gita Parayan also. So welcome everybody again once again. And today the guest of honor for today is Brijesh Shuklaji, who is the president of SNEHA, Singapore North Indian Hindu Association. And the speaker for today is our wonderful Ushaji from, she's a resident Acharya of Chinmaya Seva Center at Singapore. And she's a very well-known speaker here and widely anticipated.
Can I interrupt here? Please, can you not say Acharya-ji? You know, Acharya-ji is given only for Bhagavan Shankaracharya-ji and all others. We are just instrument doing their work. Just a teacher will do. Please.
Acharya is just Sanskrit for teacher, right?
I know, but you know, whenever I hear that, I feel no, please.
Okay.
For me, Bhagavan Shankaracharya-ji alone comes in my mind.
Okay, so we welcome our Ushaji as the teacher of.
You can call her by any name, but a rose is always a rose.
Correct, exactly. Yeah, anyway, our teacher of Vedanta and Bhagavad Gita at Chinmaya Seva Center. So welcome everybody, and without much ado, let's get started. And the invocation prayers will be by Padmini.
Oh. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavighnopashantaye. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhirbhavatu me sada. Sarvamangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Vasudeva Sutan Devam Kamsachanora Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum.
Hari Om. Thank you, Padmini, for that beautiful invocation prayers. Now we will have the welcome address by the guest of honor for today. Today it is Sri Brijesh Shuklaji, who is the president of Singapore North Indian Hindu Association, and he's also in many other capacities in different organizations also. So he was the president, he was the organizing committee chairman a couple of years ago, in the recent past, as the chairperson of SNEHA also. So we are very happy to have Brijesh as our guest of honor for today. So over to you, Brijesh, for your welcome address.
Yeah, namaste everyone, and namaste, special namaste to Chairman Sri Srinivasanji, Gita Jayanti Chairman, and our distinguished speaker, Srimati Usha Anandaji, resident teacher of Chinmaya Seva Center, committee members and participants. Right. And as you know, it is online Srimad Bhagavad Gita Parayan number 6, which is running frequently. You see that when I joined this committee very excited in 2019, 2020, very excited to lead this. And we had a couple of meetings, but all of a sudden, our enthusiasm gone back behind the rugs of the COVID. You all know that. Yet, I feel this management committee under the KKG, the Snekanji, like these guys have still not give up the inflow of are spreading the knowledge, right? Using the Zoom, whatever is available, they are still doing this very the distinguished work, or you call it very spreading the knowledge of Gita. It could have been easily stopped by just saying, oh, they are hit by COVID, right? But and a lot of like whoever is a participant, and I know the participant number could reach if we were doing this on a ground or when we do a bigger event. I have seen this event before that where we have a hall full, right? Our HEV hall full of the people, like 600 tickets, all 600 sold, right? Even we are rushing around to secure more, right? I hope and I feel very confident that this pandemic should become endemic, right? I know it is, certain media is still covering in June, July, it might hit again. With what capacity, we don't know. But we should not get demoralized. I mean, by grace of Lord and grace of God, we have survived so long, so why not we will survive more? It's just that our activities might be slowed down. I know it is, I feel it is 25th year of Gita Jayanti, hope so. And we are very into this, we'll celebrate this in a grander scale if time permits and the government allow us to gather together, right? But still, thank you to every participant and keep bringing. Only I encourage every one of you that every time you come, make sure you tag along one new person with you so that the 20 become 40 next time, 40 become 80 next time. Let's keep this encouragement to this management committee so that they should have 100,000 over Zoom participants on this in time to come. And when physical meetings start, definitely we will rally our support to make this as a grand success. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brijesh ji, for your beautiful words. In spite of your bad sore throat as well as fever, you're still kind enough to address us today. So thank you so much for that. And like you said correctly, we would welcome everybody to bring in one or two more persons from, so that more people can enjoy the Bhagavad Gita, the immortal word of the Lord. So thank you so much once again, and we will get back to our normal procedures. So now after this, we will go to the Gita Dhyanam, which is basically invocation of the Bhagavad Gita. And no chanting can be started without the Gita Dhyanam. So it will be chanted by Sindhuji. Over to Sindhuji.
Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayana Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Puranamula Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrutavarshini Bhagavatim Ashtadashaadhyayini Ambatvam Anusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshini. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullarvindayata Patranetra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamayah Pradipah प्रपन्नपारिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भीम पाराशर्यवत् भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः। पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधन बोधितं लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमलप्रध्वंसिन श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः।
Thank you so much. Sorry, I think today actually is chapter 5. So today we will, so this thing is wrong. So it's actually today we'll be doing a full chapter 5 plus first 12 verses of chapter 6 or so. Today is it's a Sannyas Yoga chapter. It's a beautiful chapter on the Nyana as well as the Sankhya aspects of Bhagavad Gita. And after the talk, we will have, after this chanting, we will have talk by Ushaji on the same chapter. So please enjoy the chanting as well as the talk. So meanwhile, let me just mute everybody. Nobody will be able to unmute yourself till the end of the talk, except for the people who are co-hosts, so that there's no disturbance. We've heard some disturbance the last time. Okay, now we can get started with the chanting with Mini.
अथ पंचमोऽध्यायः अर्जुन उवाच सन्न्यासं कर्मणां कृष्ण
अर्जुन उवाच सन्न्यासं कर्मणां कृष्ण
पुनर्योगं च शंससि यच्छ्रेय एतयोरेकम् तन्मे ब्रूहि सुनिश्चितम् अर्जुन उवाच सन्न्यासं कर्मणां कृष्ण पुनर्योगं च शंससि यच्छ्रेय एतयोरेकम् तन्मे ब्रूहि सुनिश्चितम्
अर्जुन उवाच सन्न्यासं कर्मणां कृष्ण पुनर्योगं च शंससि यच्छ्रेय एतयोरेकं तन्मे ब्रूहि सुनिश्चितम्
श्रीभगवानुवाच सन्न्यासः कर्मयोगश्च
श्रीभगवानुवाच सन्न्यासः कर्मयोगश्च
निःश्रेयसकरावुभौ
निःश्रेयसकरावुभौ
तयोस्तु कर्मसन्न्यासात्
तयोस्तु कर्मसन्न्यासात्
कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते
कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते
श्रीभगवानुवाच सन्न्यासः कर्मयोगश्च निःश्रेयसकरावुभौ तयोस्तु कर्मसन्न्यासात् कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते
श्रीभगवानुवाच सन्न्यासः कर्मयोगश्च निःश्रेयसकरावुभौ तयोस्तु कर्मसन्न्यासात् कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते
ज्ञेयः स नित्यसन्न्यासी
ज्ञेयः स नित्यसन्न्यासी
यो न द्वेष्टि न काङ्क्षति
यो न द्वेष्टि न काङ्क्षति
निर्द्वन्द्वो हि महाबाहो
निर्द्वन्द्वो हि महाबाहो
सुखं बन्धात् प्रमुच्यते
सुखं बन्धात् प्रमुच्यते
ज्ञेयः स नित्यसन्न्यासी यो न द्वेष्टि न काङ्क्षति निर्द्वन्द्वो हि महाबाहो सुखं बन्धात् प्रमुच्यते
ज्ञेयः स नित्यसन्न्यासी यो न द्वेष्टि न काङ्क्षति निर्द्वन्द्वो हि महाबाहो सुखं बन्धात् प्रमुच्यते
सांख्ययोगौ पृथक् बालाः
सांख्ययोगौ पृथक् बालाः
प्रवदन्ति न पण्डिताः
प्रवदन्ति न पण्डिताः
एकमप्यास्थितः सम्यक्
एकमप्यास्थितः सम्यक्
उभयोर्विन्दते फलम्
उभयोर्विन्दते फलम्
सांख्ययोगौ पृथक् बालाः प्रवदन्ति न पण्डिताः एकमप्यास्थितः सम्यक् उभयोर्विन्दते फलम्
सांख्ययोगौ पृथक् बालाः प्रवदन्ति न पण्डिताः एकमप्यास्थितः सम्यक् उभयोर्विन्दते फलम्
यत्साङ्ख्यैः प्राप्यते स्थानम्
यत्साङ्ख्यैः प्राप्यते स्थानम्
तद्योगैरपि गम्यते
तद्योगैरपि गम्यते
एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च
एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च
यः पश्यति स पश्यति
यः पश्यति स पश्यति
यत्साङ्ख्यैः प्राप्यते स्थानं तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति
यत्साङ्ख्यैः प्राप्यते स्थानं तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति
सन्न्यासस्तु महाबाहो
सन्न्यासस्तु महाबाहो
दुःखमाप्तुमयो गतः
दुःखमाप्तुमयोगतः समाप्तुमयोगतः
योगयुक्तो मुनिर्ब्रह्म
योगयुक्तो मुनिर्ब्रह्म
न चिरेणाधिगच्छति
न चिरेणाधिगच्छति
सन्न्यासस्तु महाबाहो दुःखमाप्तुमयोगतः योगयुक्तो मुनिर्ब्रह्म न चिरेणाधिगच्छति
सन्न्यासस्तु महाबाहो दुःखमाप्तुमयोगतः योगयुक्तो मुनिर्ब्रह्म न चिरेणाधिगच्छति योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा
योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा
विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः
विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः
सर्वभूतात्मभूतात्मा
सर्वभूतात्मभूतात्मा
कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते
कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते
योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते
योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते
नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति
नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति
युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित्
युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित्
पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन्
पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन्
अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन्
अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन्
नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन्
नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन्
प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन्
प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन्
उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि
उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि
इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु
इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु
वर्तन्त इति धारयन्
वर्तन्त इति धारयन्
प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्
प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्
ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि
ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः
लिप्यते न स पापेन
लिप्यते न स पापेन
पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा
पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा
ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा
ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या
केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि
केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि
योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति
योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये
युक्तः कर्मफलं त्यक्त्वा
युक्तः कर्मफलं त्यक्त्वा
शान्तिमाप्नोति नैष्ठिकीम्
शान्तिमाप्नोति नैष्ठिकीम्
अयुक्तः कामकारेण
अयुक्तः कामकारेण
फले सक्तो निबध्यते
फले सक्तो निबध्यते
युक्तः कर्मफलं त्यक्त्वा शान्तिमाप्नोति नैष्ठिकीम् अयुक्तः कामकारेण फले सक्तो निबध्यते
अयुक्तः युक्तः कर्मफलं त्यक्त्वा शान्तिमाप्नोति नैष्ठिकीम् अयुक्तः कामकारेण फले सक्तो निबध्यते
सर्वकर्माणि मनसा
सर्वकर्माणि मनसा
सन्न्यस्यास्ते सुखं वशी
सन्न्यस्यास्ते सुखं वशी
नवद्वारे पुरे देहि
नवद्वारे पुरे देहि
नैव कुर्वन्न कारयन्
नैव कुर्वन्न कारयन्
सर्वकर्माणि मनसा सन्न्यस्यास्ते सुखं वशी नवद्वारे पुरे देहि नैव कुर्वन्न कारयन्
सर्वकर्माणि मनसा सन्न्यस्यास्ते सुखं वशी नवद्वारे पुरे देहि नैव कुर्वन्न कारयन् न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि
न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि
लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः
लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः
न कर्मफलसंयोगम्
न कर्मफलसंयोगम्
स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते
स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते
न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः न कर्मफलसंयोगम् स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते
न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः न कर्मफलसंयोगम् स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते
नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापम्
नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापम्
न चैव सुकृतं विभुः
न चैव सुकृतं विभुः
अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानम्
अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानम्
तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः
तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः
नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापं न चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः
नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापं न चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः
ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानं
ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानं
येषान्नाशितमात्मनः
येषान्नाशितमात्मनः
तेषामादित्यवज्ञानम्
तेषामादित्यवज्ञानं
प्रकाशयति तत्परम्
प्रकाशयति तत्परम्
ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानम् येषान्नाशितमात्मनः तेषामादित्यवज्ञानम् प्रकाशयति तत्परम्
ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानं येषान्नाशितमात्मनः तेषामादित्यवज्ञानं प्रकाशयति तत्परम्
तद्बुद्धयस्तदात्मानः
तद्बुद्धयस्तदात्मानः
तन्निष्ठास्तत्परायणाः
तन्निष्ठास्तत्परायणाः
गच्छन्त्य
पुनरावृत्तिम्
ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषाः
ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषाः
तद्बुद्धयस्तदात्मानः तन्निष्ठास्तत्परायणाः गच्छन्त्य पुनरावृत्तिम् ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषाः
तद्बुद्धयस्तदात्मानः तन्निष्ठास्तत्परायणाः गच्छन्त्य पुनरावृत्तिम् ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषाः विद्याविनयसम्पन्ने
ब्राह्मणे गविहस्तिनि शुनि चैव श्वपाके च पंडिताः समदर्शिनः विद्याविनयसम्पन्ने ब्राह्मणे गविहस्तिनि शुनि चैव श्वपाके च पंडिताः समदर्शिनः
विद्याविनयसम्पन्ने ब्राह्मणे गविहस्तिनि शुनि चैव श्वपाके च पंडिताः समदर्शिनः
इहैव तैर्जितः सर्गः येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म तस्माद् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः इहैव तैर्जितः सर्गः येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म तस्माद् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः
इहैव तैर्जितः सर्गः येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म तस्माद् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः
न प्रहृष्येत् प्रियं प्राप्य नो द्विजेत् प्राप्य चाप्रियम् स्थिरबुद्धिरसम्मूढः
स्थिरबुद्धिरसम्मूढः
ब्रह्मविद् ब्रह्मणि स्थितः
ब्रह्मविद् ब्रह्मणि स्थितः
न प्रहृष्येत् प्रियं प्राप्य नोद्विजेत् प्राप्य चाप्रियं स्थिरबुद्धिरसम्मूढः ब्रह्मविद् ब्रह्मणि स्थितः
न प्रहृष्येत् प्रियं प्राप्य नो द्विजेत् प्राप्य चाप्रियं स्थिरबुद्धिरसम्मूढः ब्रह्मविद् ब्रह्मणि स्थितः बाह्यस्पर्शेष्वसक्तात्मा
बाह्यस्पर्शेष्वसक्तात्मा
विन्दत्यात्मनि यत् सुखम्
विन्दत्यात्मनि यत् सुखम्
स ब्रह्मयोगयुक्तात्मा
स ब्रह्मयोगयुक्तात्मा
सुखमक्षयमश्नुते
सुखमक्षयमश्नुते
बाह्यस्पर्शेष्वसक्तात्मा विन्दत्यात्मनि यत् सुखम् स ब्रह्मयोगयुक्तात्मा सुखमक्षयमश्नुते
बाह्यस्पर्शेष्वसक्तात्मा विन्द्यात्मनि यत् सुखम् स ब्रह्मयोगयुक्तात्मा सुखमक्षयमश्नुते
ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगाः
ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगाः
दुःखयोनय एव ते
दुःखयोनय एव ते
आद्यन्तवन्तः कौन्तेय
आद्यन्तवन्तः कौन्तेय
न तेषु रमते बुधः
न तेषु रमते बुधः
ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगाः दुःखयोनय एव ते आद्यन्तवन्तः कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधः
ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगाः दुःखयोनय एव ते आद्यन्तवन्तः कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधः
शक्नोति हैव यः सोढुम्
शक्नोति हैव यः सोढुम्
प्राक्शरीरविमोक्षणात्
प्राक्शरीरविमोक्षणात्
कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगम्
कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगम्
स युक्तः स सुखी नरः
स युक्तः स सुखी नरः
शक्नोति हैव यः सोढुम् प्राक्शरीरविमोक्षणात् कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगम् स युक्तः स सुखी नरः
शक्नोति हैव यः सोढुम् प्राक्शरीरविमोक्षणात् कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगम् स युक्तः स सुखी नरः
योऽन्तः सुखोऽन्तरारामः
योऽन्तः सुखोऽन्तरारामः
तथान्तर्ज्योतिरेव यः
तथान्तर्ज्योतिरेव यः
स योगी ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम्
स योगी ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम्
ब्रह्मभूतोऽधिगच्छति
ब्रह्मभूतोऽधिगच्छति
योऽन्तः सुखोऽन्तरारामः तथान्तर्ज्योतिरेव यः स योगी ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम् ब्रह्मभूतोऽधिगच्छति
योऽन्तः सुखोऽन्तरारामः तथान्तर्ज्योतिरेव यः स योगी ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम् ब्रह्मभूतोऽधिगच्छति
लभन्ते ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम्
लभन्ते ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम्
ऋषयः क्षीणकल्मषाः
ऋषयः क्षीणकल्मषाः
छिन्नद्वैधायतात्मानः
छिन्नद्वैधायतात्मानः
सर्वभूतहिते रताः
सर्वभूतहिते रताः
लभन्ते ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम् ऋषयः क्षीणकल्मषाः छिन्नद्वैधायतात्मानः सर्वभूतहिते रताः
लभन्ते ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम् ऋषयः क्षीणकल्मषाः छिन्नद्वैधायतात्मानः सर्वभूतहिते रताः
कामक्रोधवियुक्तानाम्
कामक्रोधवियुक्तानाम्
यतीनायतचेतसाम्
यतीनायतचेतसाम्
अभितो ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम्
अभितो ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम्
वर्तते विदितात्मनाम्
वर्तते विदितात्मनाम्
कामक्रोधवियुक्तानाम् यतीनायतचेतसाम् अभितो ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम् वर्तते विदितात्मनाम्
कामक्रोधवियुक्तानाम् यतीनायतचेतसाम् अभितो ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम् वर्तते विदितात्मनाम्
स्पर्शान् कृत्वा बहिर्बाह्यान्
स्पर्शान् कृत्वा बहिर्बाह्यान्
चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवोः
चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवोः
प्राणापानौ समौ कृत्वा
प्राणापानौ समौ कृत्वा
नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ
नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ
स्पर्शान् कृत्वा बहिर्बाह्यान् चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवोः प्राणापानौ समौ कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ
स्पर्शान् कृत्वा बहिर्बाह्यान् चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवोः प्राणापानौ समौ कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ यतेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धिः
यतेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धिः
मुनिर्मोक्षपरायणः
मुनिर्मोक्षपरायणः
विगतेच्छाभयक्रोधः
विगतेच्छाभयक्रोधः
यः सदा मुक्त एव सः
यः सदा मुक्त एव सः
यतेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धिः मुनिर्मोक्षपरायणः विगतेच्छाभयक्रोधः यः सदा मुक्त एव सः
यतेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धिः मुनिर्मोक्षपरायणः विगतेच्छाभयक्रोधः यः सदा मुक्त एव सः
भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसाम्
भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसाम्
सर्वलोकमहेश्वरम्
सर्वलोकमहेश्वरम्
सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां
सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां
ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमृच्छति
ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमृच्छति
भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसां सर्वलोकमहेश्वरम् सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमृच्छति
भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसां सर्वलोकमहेश्वरं सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमृच्छति।
ॐ तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे कर्मसन्न्यासयोगो नाम पञ्चमोऽध्यायः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णौ वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। अथ षष्ठोऽध्यायः। श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
अनाश्रितः कर्मफलम्
अनाश्रितः कर्मफलम्
कार्यं कर्म करोति यः
कार्यं कर्म करोति यः
स सन्न्यासी च योगी च
स सन्न्यासी च योगी च
न निरग्निर्न चाक्रियः।
न निरग्निर्न चाक्रियः।
श्रीभगवानुवाच अनाश्रितः कर्मफलम् कार्यं कर्म करोति यः स सन्न्यासी च योगी च न निरग्निर्न चाक्रियः।
श्रीभगवानुवाच अनाश्रितः कर्मफलं कार्यं कर्म करोति यः स सन्न्यासी च योगी च न निरग्निर्न चाक्रियः।
यं सन्न्यासमिति प्राहुः
यं सन्न्यासमिति प्राहुः
योगन्तं विद्धि पाण्डव
योगन्तं विद्धि पाण्डव
न ह्यसन्न्यस्तसङ्कल्पः
न ह्यसन्न्यस्तसङ्कल्पः
योगी भवति कश्चन
योगी भवति कश्चन।
यं सन्न्यासमिति प्राहुः योगन्तं विद्धि पाण्डव न ह्यसन्न्यस्तसङ्कल्पः योगी भवति कश्चन।
यं सन्न्यासमिति प्राहुः योगन्तं विद्धि पाण्डव न ह्यसन्न्यस्तसङ्कल्पः योगी भवति कश्चन।
आरुरुक्षोर्मुनेर्योगम्
आरुरुक्षोर्मुनेर्योगम्
कर्म कारणमुच्यते
कर्म कारणमुच्यते
योगारूढस्य तस्यैव
योगारूढस्य तस्यैव
शमः कारणमुच्यते
शमः कारणमुच्यते।
आरुरुक्षोर्मुनेर्योगम् कर्म कारणमुच्यते योगारूढस्य तस्यैव शमः कारणमुच्यते।
आरुरुक्षोर्मुनेर्योगम् कर्म कारणमुच्यते योगारूढस्य तस्यैव शमः कारणमुच्यते।
यदा हिनेन्द्रियार्थेषु न कर्मस्वनुषज्जते
न कर्मस्वनुषज्जते
सर्वसङ्कल्पसन्न्यासी
सर्वसङ्कल्पसन्न्यासी
योगारूढस्तदोच्यते
योगारूढस्तदोच्यते।
यदा हिनेन्द्रियार्थेषु न कर्मस्वनुषज्यते सर्वसङ्कल्पसन्न्यासी योगारूढस्तदोच्यते
यदा हिनेन्द्रियार्थेषु न कर्मस्वनुषज्यते सर्वसङ्कल्पसन्न्यासी योगारूढस्तदोच्यते
उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानम्
उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानम्
नात्मानमवसादयेत्
नात्मानमवसादयेत्
आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः
आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः
आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः
आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः
उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानम् आत्मानमवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः
उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं नात्मानमवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः बन्धुरात्मात्मनस्तस्य
बन्धुरात्मात्मनस्तस्य
येनात्मैवात्मना जितः
येनात्मैवात्मना जितः
अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे
अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे
वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत्
वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत्
बन्धुरात्मात्मनस्तस्य येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत्
बन्धुरात्मात्मनस्तस्य येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत्
जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य
चितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य
परमात्मा समाहितः
परमात्मा समाहितः
शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु
शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु
तथा मानापमानयोः
तथा मानापमानयोः
जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः
चितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः
ज्ञानविज्ञानतृप्तात्मा
ज्ञानविज्ञानतृप्तात्मा
कूटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः
कूटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः
युक्त इत्युच्यते योगी
युक्त इत्युच्यते योगी
समलोष्टाश्मकाञ्चनः
समलोष्टाश्मकाञ्चनः
ज्ञानविज्ञानतृप्तात्मा कूटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः युक्त इत्युच्यते योगी समलोष्टाश्मकाञ्चनः
ज्ञानविज्ञानतृप्तात्मा कूटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः युक्त इत्युच्यते योगी समलोष्टाश्मकाञ्चनः
सुहृन्मित्रार्युदासीन
सुहृन्मित्रार्युदासीन
मध्यस्थद्विमर्शदात् मध्यस्थद्वेष्य बन्धुषु
मध्यस्थद्वेष्य बन्धुषु
साधुष्वपि च पापेषु
साधुष्वपि च पापेषु
समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते
समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते
सुहृन्मित्रार्युदासीन मध्यस्थद्वेष्य बन्धुषु साधुष्वपि च पापेषु समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते
सुहृन्मित्रार्युदासीन मध्यस्थद्वेष्य बन्धुषु साधुष्वपि च पापेषु समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते
योगी युञ्जीत सततम्
योगी युञ्जीत सततम्
आत्मानौ रहसि स्थितः
आत्मानं रहसि स्थितः
एकाकीयत चित्तात्मा
एकाकीयत चित्तात्मा
निराशीरपरिग्रहः
निराशीरपरिग्रहः
योगी युञ्जीत सततम् आत्मानौ रहसि स्थितः एकाकीयत चित्तात्मा निराशीरपरिग्रहः
योगी युञ्जीत सततम् आत्मानं रहसि स्थितः एकाकीयत चित्तात्मा निराशीरपरिग्रहः
शुचौ देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य
शुचौ देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य
स्थिरमासनमात्मनः
स्थिरमासनमात्मनः
नात्युच्छ्रितन्नातिनीचं
नात्युच्छ्रितं नातिनीचं
शैलाजिनकुशोत्तरम्
शैलाजिनकुशोत्तरम्
शुचौ देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य स्थिरमासनमात्मनः नात्युच्छ्रितन्नातिनीचं शैलाजिनकुशोत्तरम्
शुचौ देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य स्थिरमासनमात्मनः नात्युच्छ्रितं नातिनीचं शैलाजिनकुशोत्तरम्
तत्रैकाग्रं मनः कृत्वा
तत्रैकाग्रं मनः कृत्वा
यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रियः
यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रियः
उपविश्यासने युञ्ज्यात्
उपविश्यासने युञ्ज्यात्
योगमात्मविशुद्धये
योगमात्मविशुद्धये
तत्रैकाग्रं मनः कृत्वा यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रियः उपविश्यासने युञ्ज्यात् योगमात्मविशुद्धये
तत्रैकाग्रं मनः कृत्वा यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रियः उपविश्यासने युञ्ज्यात् योगमात्मविशुद्धये
Hari Om. The chanting portions for today is completed. Thank you so much to all the wonderful chanters. We had some small technical issues with the I think Wi-Fi, so I think some sounds were not coming out very well, but I think that was fine. It's part of the game. So all the meanings given in the earlier slides are actually from the great commentators of the Gita, like Swami Shivanandaji, Swami Dayanandaji, Swami Gambhiranandaji, George Feuerstein, Swami Vireshwaranandaji, Eknath Ishwaran, Dr. Radhakrishnan, Krishnan, Swami Rama, Yuan Mascaro. So basically it covers Western and Eastern, the great masters from ancient traditions as well as modernistic outlooks and even philosophic outlooks. So it is to basically to give an overview of the entire spectrum of way in which you can look at the Bhagavad Gita. So now we move over to the Gita Mahatmyam, and this will be chanted by Padmini.
अथ गीता माहात्म्यम् गीता शास्त्रमिदं पुण्यं यः पठेत् प्रयतः पुमान् विष्णोः पदमवाप्नोति भयशोकादिवर्जितः गीताध्ययनशीलस्य प्राणायामपरस्य च नैव सन्ति हि पापानि पूर्वजन्म कृतानि च मलनिर्मोचनं पुंसां जलस्नानं दिने दिने सकृद्गीताम्भसि स्नानं संसारमलनाशनं गीता सुगीता कर्तव्या किमन्यैः शास्त्रविस्तरैः या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्माद्विनिसृता भारतामृतसर्वस्वं विष्णोर्वक्त्राद्विनिसृतं गीता गङ्गोदकं पीत्वा पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् एकं शास्त्रं देवकी पुत्रगीतम् एको देवो देवकी पुत्र एव एको मन्त्रस्तस्य नामानि यानि कर्माप्येकं तस्य देवस्य सेवा.
Hari Om. Thank you, Padmini, for that beautiful chanting of the Gita Mahatmyam. Now we move over to the much anticipated session for today, the Gita talk for this session 6. This will be by Usha Anandaji. She doesn't like to be called as Acharya, she likes to be called as teacher. So teacher of Chinmaya Seva Center, Singapore. So over to Usha ji.
Hari Om. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I would like to express my heartful gratitude to Gita Jayanti committee for giving me this opportunity to dwell on the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So we shall look into 5th chapter called Karma Sannyasa Yoga. 5th chapter is essentially the summary of all the 4 chapters. This chapter begins with a very interesting question by Arjuna, which normally most seekers ask. Before we start with the question, let us see very briefly what has happened till 5th chapter. Why? Because this question of Arjuna in 5th chapter is connected to the previous chapters also. As you know, in the first chapter called Arjuna Vishada Yoga, before the war started, Arjuna asked Bhagwan to place the chariot between the 2 armies. Then looking at his grandfather, the guru, the relatives, he felt that he has to kill all his loved ones to win the war. He gave lot of arguments, why not fight the war? And as he was describing, he reflects on the outcome of the war. This is his Vishada, despondency. Bhagwan did not say a word in the first chapter. Arjuna was confused and his mind was disconnected with the rational thinking intellect. And this is called as Karpanya dosha. Finally, Arjuna surrenders to Bhagwan in the 2nd chapter, 7th verse. Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapanna. Then in the 2nd chapter, 11th verse onwards, teaching of Bhagavad Gita started. Bhagwan says, Oh Arjuna, you are weeping because you consider yourself to be this body. You have considered others also as the body alone. This body is perishable. Let your attention be on the Supreme Self in you. Lord began with Jnana Yoga, the self-knowledge, and told Arjuna that you are the Satchidananda Paramatma and you are not the body, the mind, intellect complex. Bhagwan gave a number of Atma Lakshanas, but there was no response from Arjuna. Bhagwan gave importance of performing one's duty in Karma Yoga spirit and asked Arjuna to fight the war. To get this self-knowledge, Bhagwan says, one has to purify the mind. How? Through Karma Yoga. Lord has dealt with both Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga as two stages for spiritual sadhana in 2nd chapter. Now Arjuna is confused. So 3rd chapter begins with a question. Bhagwan, on one side you are praising self-knowledge and on the other side you are asking me to fight. I'm confused now. Please tell me one thing for me to do. Should I gain knowledge or perform action? Both seem to be contradicting. If I have to gain knowledge, I have to approach a guru and gain it. And this process is called Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Just like if I have to learn music, I have to approach a teacher. But Bhagwan, what you're suggesting, means and goal have no relationship. Means and goal are always related. Bhagwan says, oh Arjuna, even now I want you to gain the self-knowledge. But this knowledge cannot be gained by an impure mind. Only a pure mind can grasp the self-knowledge. But if actions are performed with a particular attitude, mind can be purified, then only one can gain the knowledge. So Arjuna, you must fight with a Karma Yoga attitude. The attitude of Karma Yoga is elaborated in 3rd chapter. What does 3rd chapter say? Perform your actions as a worship of the Lord and receive the results as prasad from the Lord. So in 4th chapter also, Bhagwan again glorifies the self-knowledge. Bhagwan describes how different people from different walks of life perform their duties and reach their goal. So after looking at briefly the 4 chapters, let us look into the 5th chapter now. Now Arjuna has a question starting in 5th chapter. Arjuna says, Bhagwan, I accept that knowledge is the highest and it should be gained by one and all, be given the highest priority. But in the process of answering Arjuna's question, Bhagwan covers the following topics in 5th chapter. What are the topics he is covering? 2 types of lifestyles. What is Karma Yoga? What is Jnana Yoga? What is the nature of a Jivan Mukta or Tattvavit? And 2 verses as a prelude to 6th chapter. So Arjuna says, Bhagwan, in this world, we see 2 types of seekers. Both the seekers have the same goal of attaining self-knowledge, but they have taken up 2 different paths. One group of people take the path of renunciation called Karma Sannyas or Nivritti Marga, and the other group of people choose the path of action called Pravritti Marga. A seeker who has chosen the path of renunciation, Nivritti Marga or Karma Sannyasa, thinks, if there is some knowledge which will remove all my suffering, why not dedicate my life for it? His understanding is, this Karma Sannyas, the one who has taken his understanding is, let me spend all my time in seeking this knowledge. Contrary to that, a seeker who has chosen Pravritti Marga or the path of action, who is in the Grihastha Ashrama, is not renouncing the world, just like all of us. We are in the world. Such a person, such a grihastha, lives in the world doing his duties, but has the same goal to gain the self-knowledge. He says, let me not escape from the world. Let me fulfill all my responsibilities, my duties, serving my family and society. Let me use the world to purify my mind and eventually gain the knowledge. So the priority of a grihastha seeker is the same as the one who has taken the karma sannyasa. In both cases, one has to perform duties as a worship of the Lord. So whether it is the duties of serving the Guru or serving the family and society, it should be taken as worship of the Lord. So one important point to take note is, one seeker who is in the Nivritti Marga, he has few roles to play and he can grow faster. Whereas we grihasthas have many roles and we cannot escape from grihasthashrama until all responsibilities are fulfilled. So Arjuna is asking Bhagwan now, Bhagwan, you praise Nyana sometimes and you praise karma sometimes. Please make up your mind and tell me what is superior and what is Shreyas for me. So this is the Arjuna's question in the beginning of 5th chapter. In fact, every seeker goes through this kind of thought that should I renounce the world? Especially if things are not going the way he or she had planned for. Bhagwan says, both paths are equally effective, Arjuna, but for you especially, karma yoga is better. Tayostu karma sannyasat karma yogo vishishyate, Bhagwan says. Why did Bhagwan ask Arjuna to perform a question? This is our question also. In fact, this is the advice Bhagwan gives for all of us also. Karma sannyas is difficult for a person whose mind is not prepared. Purification of the mind is most important and prerequisite in the path of spirituality. Bhagwan says, so Arjuna, you remain in the world, purify your mind and then gain knowledge. One important point is, one who has renounced the world or one who is very much in the world performing duties, both are work in progress. Both are ajnanis only. Whichever path it is, what matters is with what intensity one would like to gain the knowledge. Burning desire alone matters, called mumukshatvam. Next, Bhagwan in verse 3 defines this karma sannyasi as true sannyasi, nitya sannyasi he calls him. Neya sannitya sannyasi yona dveshtina kankshati. A seeker, a karma sannyasi, a nivritti margi, Bhagwan calls him as a nitya sannyasi. Nitya sannyasi is the one who does not have raga dvesha. Raga dvesha towards what? Will be our question. Towards the pair of opposites, which is the nature of the world. World of duality always has pairs of opposites. Heat and cold, joy and sorrow, insult and praise. All these are there in the world. Based on our experiences, we either develop likes or dislikes for it. So one who is beyond the pairs of opposites, Bhagwan calls him as Nitya Sannyasi or a true Sannyasi. So what has happened to this Nitya Sannyasi? A true Sannyasi has developed shock absorbers to walk on the spiritual path. Now Bhagwan takes us to the topic of sadhana. Bhagwan says there are two types of spiritual disciplines, Karma Yoga Sadhana and Jnana Yoga Sadhana. Krishna wants to emphasize that as far as sadhanas are concerned, there is no choice at all. Everybody requires Karma Yoga. Just like that, everybody requires Jnana Yoga also to reach the goal. But if both Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga are required, what should be the order Bhagwan would want to suggest to us? Which one should be followed first? Can I start with Jnana Yoga and end with Karma Yoga? Bhagwan says, no. Karma Yoga is the first stage. Jnana Yoga is the next and the final stage. Karma Yoga gives the preparation for Jnana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga gives us liberation. And of course, it does not mean that Karma Yogi should not study scriptures at all. In the first stage, that is, as we are, as grahasthas, as we are performing our action in Karma Yoga spirit, no doubt Karma Yoga has more prominence and study of scriptures is subdued. Whereas in the later stage, Jnana Yoga becomes prominent, and then Karma Yoga becomes dominant. Sorry, Karma Yoga becomes less important. This is the only dominance difference. It is not a watertight compartment. So therefore, Krishna summarizes Karma Yoga sadhana from verse 7 to verse 12. So according to Bhagavan, what is Karma Yoga? Proper action performed with proper attitude is Karma Yoga. All actions are performed as a worship of the Lord, or Bhagavan is remembered while performing all our actions. And while receiving the results, total cheerful acceptance called Prasada Buddhi. As we know, every action performed brings results. Our understanding should be, if our results come as per my wish, it is the grace of the Lord. And if not as per my wish, it is the will of the Lord. Gracefully accept without resistance. Our understanding should be, my Bhagwan knows the best. Such a Karma Yogi, Bhagwan calls him as Munihi, as he has developed the pure mind. So this Munihi attains the nature of Brahman, which is Satchidananda Swarupa, eventually. In him, there will be no sorrow and he will be in ever bliss. So this seeker or this Munihi has achieved that Brahma Achirenadi Gacchati, Bhagavan says. Moving on to the 7th verse, Bhagavan says that such a Karma Yogi who has kept his mind under control, Vijitatma, who has kept his senses under control, Jitendriya, eventually gains the knowledge of oneness, and the feeling of him would be Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, oneness with all the beings. And such a Karma Yogi, any amount of action he performs, actions do not bind him. Kurvan napina lipyate. Where there is vision of oneness, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, their love becomes spontaneous, like a mother loving her child. Where identification is there, their love becomes natural. Compassion, forgiveness becomes natural. All virtues become natural. Na lipyate. When such a person performs actions, the actions do not taint him. Then in verse 8 and 9, Bhagwan describes how such a Mahatma or a Tattvavit lives in this world. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavit pashyan shunvan sprushan jigran ashnan gachan swapan shwasan pralapan visrujan grinnan unmishan nimishannapi indriyanendriyartheshu vartanta iti dharayan. So what is Bhagwan saying here? Such a person, a Mahatma or a Tattvavit, his feeling is, I do not do anything. Though he is performing all actions selflessly for the welfare of all, he says sense organs are interacting with the sense objects. And it is the consciousness that lends sentiency to the matter 5 elements. The world, the body, and the mind are all matter. If you take the example of electricity, all the equipments, at home are able to function only because of the presence of electricity. Similarly, the Tattvavit or Jnani Mahatma feels that all organs of perception and all organs of actions interact with the world, and I am just the witness. Let's move on to the next topic. In verse 10 and 11, Bhagwan gives the entire technique of Karma Yoga. Bhagwan says in 10th verse, Lipyate nasa papena padma patra mimambasa. Again, Bhagwan is emphasizing on Karma Yoga spirit. Performing actions as an offering to Bhagwan, such actions will not bind him, just like a lotus feet do not get wet. Such a karma yogi, not being attached to kayena manasa buddhya, means the body, the mind, and the intellect perform actions for purification only. Not being attached to body, mind, and intellect, he performs actions for purification only. Just like when I go to a temple, the action of visiting a temple gives me joy. And when I receive the prasad, maybe an old tulsi or kesari, to receive both, I'll be very cheerful. If only we could perform all our actions as a puja of the Lord and receive result as a prasad, mind will be at peace. In the temple, as I stand in front of the Lord, Lord is none other than the Chaitanya Tattva in me also. Just think, we are alive because of the presence of consciousness. Heart should get filled with gratitude, humility, and love. This is the first step in spirituality, feeling for the Lord. I am as ego or ahankara is nothing. I have nothing and I do nothing. This should be our understanding. I have no capability at all. And we should meditate this way every day and recollecting what we are grateful for. This is living as a lotus leaf which does not get wet. And next question is, how do I know actions performed were good or not? So Bhagwan says, check your own mind, whether it is peaceful or not. This way, every day spend time with Bhagwan so that we develop a perfect connection with him. In verse 12, Bhagwan says, Karma Yogi sees that while performing action and while expecting results, he is at peace. Even while performing and when he gets the karma pala, the results, he is at peace. Shanti mapnoti naishtikim, Bhagwan says. Karma Yogi is always under the grace of the Lord, as he is acting with Ishvara Bhavana. His attitude is puja while performing the actions and prasad while receiving the results of action. Understanding is whom I am working for. He takes care of me. Bhagwan alone is my boss. All in all, we must maintain peaceful mind, a pure heart with noble qualities. Whatever we think and do, that way we are training our mind. How we train our mind? Mind will start behaving that way. Lead a clean life, fulfilling our responsibilities. Then knowledge of the higher comes in due course of time. In verse 12, Bhagwan says, if we perform actions without the karma yoga spirit, what is wrong with it? Ayukta kama karena phale sakto nibadhyate. The similar thought flow is there in chapter 3 also. There Bhagwan says in the 4th verse of chapter 3, Bhagwan says, action is a double-edged weapon. If actions are performed wrongly, it will bind us. How does it bind us? Because of prarabdha karmas, we are forced to act. You and me are forced to act. Actions bring results, karma phala. Karma phala either gives sukha or dukkha. Based on that, we develop likes or dislikes. That leaves behind impressions to further act in the same manner. This is how karma binds us, and we are bound if it is not done with the spirit of karma yoga. On the contrary, what will happen as a result of karma yoga? The results are marvelous. The result is mind becomes spiritually oriented. Materialistic tendencies will weaken. Interest in study of scriptures will increase. Such a seeker's efforts will be wholehearted and sincere. And therefore, everyone as a seeker has to purify his mind, including the sannyasi also has to purify his mind. The purifying actions of a sannyasi will be different from purifying actions of a householder like you and me. The actions will differ, but the aim is mind should become purer and purer. After explaining elaborately Karma Yoga, Bhagavan moves on to Jnana Yoga Sadhana, which is given from verse 13 to 21. Bhagavan says, once the mind is available for the teaching, path of knowledge or Jnana Yoga starts. We shall see what is Jnana Yoga Sadhana or spiritual practices before we move on to describing the verses from 13 to 21. What is Jnana Yoga? Jnana Yoga is Vedanta Vichara or Vedanta Shravana Manana Nididhyasanam. What is Shravanam? Shravanam is systematic and consistent study of scriptures for a length of time under the guidance of a competent acharya or guru. During Shravanam, by listening to the guru, we gain knowledge of Mahavakya, Tattvamasi. In essence, I am Satchidananda Paramatma and I am God. That's what scriptures are telling us. To believe this requires faith in Upanishad as Pramanam. Upanishad is the means of knowledge, so we should have Shraddha in that. But by repeated Shravanam, any doubts one may have regarding the Upanishad as Pramana goes away. So what is the key thing? The repeated Shravanam is the key thing. That, when the doubts go, then it is called as Pramana Asambhavana. Okay, I have faith in the scriptures, I have faith in my guru, and I'm doing repeated Shravanam, but still the mind tosses up with doubts. Like, is there God or Ishvara? How can that be me? And then is this world real? If all sorts of questions come. For this, consistent mananam or reflection is also required. This is prameya asambhavana. What happens is it removes any doubt about the existence of Bhagwan or Ishvara. Even after consistent Shravanam and Mananam, for us to abide in this knowledge or to develop that Sarvatma Bhava, which Bhagwan has explained in previous verses, all erroneous notions keep popping up in our mind and they disturb us. So those erroneous notions also has to be eliminated. This is done by the process of meditation called Nididhyasanam. So Nididhyasanam is for erroneous notion, or there's a Sanskrit word called as Viparita Bhavana Nivritti. What one should do to remove erroneous notion? So we, you and me, we are a bundle of personalities. With each interaction with an object or being in the world, a notion is formed in the form of I like or I dislike. Bundle of those notions forms our personality, Mr. Ahankara or Mr. Ego. These notions are not of this birth alone. We have been carrying notions of thousands of previous births also. In the seat of meditation, when those notions pop up, they do disturb our mind. What we need to do at that time is, we should not follow or analyze or judge whatever thought that comes into our mind. Just observe and disregard it and be a witness. This removes all that erroneous notion called as Kashaya Nivritti. So this is the process that takes place while practicing Jnana Yoga. So now let us continue looking into the verses of 5th chapter of the Gita. So Jnana Yoga, or the path of Karma Sannyas, is from verse 13 to 21. So Karma Yogi with a purified mind is ready for Karma Sannyasa. And one thing we should notice, the spiritual journey is not like a train journey. Which train to take and where to get down. Each one matures at different times, and one should become confident enough to take up mental sannyasa. Next, Bhagwan gives Lakshana or nature of Jnani Mahatma. So what does Bhagwan say? In the 13th verse, Bhagwan says, Ajnana Yogi, Ajnani Mahatma, ever identifying with the self, although lives in this body of 9 gates. Navadware pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan. So such a Jnani Mahatma is free from all actions because he has no notion of doership. He knows that he is not the small I, the ego, that does all the actions. And he knows that small I, the jiva alone, which traverses from body to body, experiencing joys and sorrows. And such a Jnani Mahatma has Samadarshanam. Mind has gained vision of oneness. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Shwapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. Such a Jnani Mahatma does not see any difference between a Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a Chandala. What has made him, have this understanding? This knowledge has made him humble and to see that oneness. What is his outlook? His outlook is Antar Rama and Bahar Drama. Outwardly, there will be differences, and our interactions also outwardly will be different, but inwardly, he sees that vision of oneness. Such a person neither feels elevated when he gets what he wants and does not get dejected either. He is a sthita prajna, which was brought out in 2nd chapter of the Gita. He does not get affected by the pairs of opposites. Then Bhagwan says the knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. That he says in 20th verse. Such a Jnani Mahatma is a Brahmanishta, always abides in the self. Brahmavit Brahmani Sthitaha. So let's see, how did it all happen? Through Satsang, where Shravanam happens, he gains the knowledge of Brahman. So after Shravanam, one becomes Brahmavit. Brahmavit means he gets the knowledge of Brahman. Then after Mananam, one becomes Thirabuddhihi. His intellect gets convinced. And after Nididhyasanam, Brahmani Sthitaha. He abides in the self. Then Asammodaha. No more he is deluded about this dualistic, illusory world. He sees the oneness in them. And such a person derives Akshaya Sukham. Sukham Akshaya Mashnute. Infinite Sukham. Because he is Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. He is. So until now, Bhagwan has shown how Karma Yogi purifies his mind, gains the knowledge, and enjoys that ultimate bliss. Now let us see now, what are the problems of indulging in worldly pleasures? If we don't perform actions according to Karma Yoga spirit, and if we are not able to do consistent Shravanam, Manan, and Nididhyasan, what should we be aware of? Bhagwan says, be aware of your actions. Your actions will lead to dukkha. How? All worldly enjoyments is associated with pain, AP, and it is associated with temporariness, AT, causes dependence, CD, drains the indriyas or the sense organs and the mind, DI, and dissatisfaction guaranteed, DG. So keeping all this in mind, to measure our own progress in the spiritual path, we can take a FIR test. What is FIR test? F stands for how frequently I'm getting disturbed. I stand for how intensely I'm getting disturbed. And R stands for how quickly I recover and gain my equilibrium. With spiritual life, gradually all three should be reduced. And finally, Bhagwan wants to say, with this way, if we practice all our sadhana practices, then we can gain integration of the mind and the intellect. So what is Bhagwan saying here? We need to do sadhana, or we need to do spiritual practice. External means is Bahiranga sadhana is karma yoga. Internal means the antaranga sadhana is upasana, control of the thoughts, which Bhagwan will elaborate in the later chapters also. So Bhagwan says, finally, one who has controlled the senses, the mind and the intellect could remain in the contemplation of the truth. And knowing me, the person attains me, Bhagwan says. In verse 27 and 28, Bhagwan provided the seed for the next chapter called Dhyana Yoga or Yoga of Meditation. In the seat of meditation, what we have to do as Antaranga Sadhana. So one has to sit every day for a short while keeping all the roles away. We have many roles that we play in a day. Or else if I sit with a role, like a mother, sitting with the role of a mother role will start thinking about her children. So these roles come and bother us when the mind has nothing else to think. When the mind becomes quiet, it starts thinking about the roles that we play. That is why time and place of meditation is very important. Then lastly, the 29th verse, which is a beautiful verse, Bhagwan teaches us how to meditate upon that, meditate upon Bhagwan or the truth. So let me just chant that. Bhoktaram yajnatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam nyatva mam shantim ruchati. Bhagwan says, to meditate on me or to meditate upon truth, your head and heart must be involved. So head is the intellect and heart is the mind. Both of them should be integrated, yuktaha, as mentioned in previous chapters also. Bhagwan says, just like a bird needs 2 wings to fly, for a successful meditation also, we need buddhi, the intellect, full of knowledge of nature of Bhagwan or Brahman, and heart, which is symbolic, mind filled with love for Bhagwan. This way one should meditate upon Bhagwan. Who is that Bhagwan? Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, ultimate Lord of the creation. And Yajna Tapasam Bhoktaram, who is the receiver of all our pujas. And where is he situated? Suhridam, as friend of all, as our well-wisher. Sarva Bhutanam Mam. Bhagwan is located in the heart, hridayam of all the beings. Meaning in every thought of ours, he is there. And Kenopanishad says, Pratibodha Viditham Matham. He is there as the Chaitanya Tattva in all of us and in every thought of us. Knowing this, Bhagwan says, Shantim Ruchati. One will attain peace, tranquility, and calmness of mind. So this is the summary of 5th chapter. In fact, it is a summary of all the 4 chapters, highlighting two types of lifestyle, pravritti marga, nivritti marga, karma yoga, jnana yoga, and finally, bhakti yoga also teaching us how to meditate on the Virata form of the Lord. Hari Om.
Thank you so much, Ushaji. So that brilliant talk, as usual. So it is, I mean, we had a lot of insights. I'm sure some people will have some questions to ask. So hope you'll be around till the end of the,
Yes.
yeah. So, and think about Antar Rama and Bahad Rama. That is fantastic. And a lot of nice, short forms, FIR and all, very nice.
That's our Puja Guruji's quote.
Yeah. Antar Rama and Bahad Rama. Very nice. So it is very nice as usual. And such a beautiful topic also on Karma Sannyasa and Nyana. So very beautiful. So anyway, we'll just continue with our next segment and then we'll come back to the discussions. Thank you so much. So now I will share the screen. So next segment that we have is the mini quiz that we have. So this will be done by Ananya ji. Ananya is a young student at our university here at Singapore, and she is also a classical dancer, and also she has won several times the chanting competitions in Singapore, in our Gita Jayanti earlier. So over to Ananya ji. Ananya, can you take over?
Yes. Hello, everybody. I'm Ananya.
And the good thing, let me just one more thing. She just went to India yesterday, and she is logging in from India with a poor Wi-Fi bandwidth. So thank you so much for doing that on this very auspicious day. Thank you so much, Ananya.
It's indeed a very auspicious day. I landed in Singapore 2 hours. I'm not Singapore, India 2 hours ago. Yeah. Okay. Let's start off with the quiz for this session. So this is the mini Gita quiz number 6. There are 2 types of questions, 1 to be answered in a couple or few words, and 2 to be answered in a sentence or of less than 20 words. The questions in these quizzes will be based on the verses chanted in this specific session. So for this session 6, the quiz will be based on the Gita Dhyanam or the chapter 5 verses 1 to 29 and chapter 6 verses 1 to 12. Questions for each session will be explained in the respective sessions, and you can always see the session videos on the Gita Jayanti Facebook page or the Gita Jayanti YouTube channel again. Answers to questions and names of top correct responses will be presented at future sessions. The questions need to be answered through the online links that are given in the next slide. Please note that there will be no real-time question answer session here. This is purely an online quiz. So this is the links for the chat for the quiz we have. I'll be sending it in the chat so that everyone can click on it easily as well. The link for today's session is tinyurl.com/mini Gita mini quiz S6. The G, M, and Q and S are capitalized. See you all on the link. So we'll move on to the first type of questions. These are to be answered in a couple or a few words. Question 1. In response to Arjuna's question in verse 5.1, which is better? Number 1, whether renunciation of action or performance of actions in the spirit of karma yoga. What is Krishna's unambiguous response? Moving to question 2, in chapter 5, verse 10, which starts off as Brahmanyadhaya Karmani. There is a common simile with visual imagery regarding how a karma yogi is not touched or corrupted by sin. What is the imagery used? Next question. In chapter 5, verse 14, which starts off as Na kartritvam na karmani, Krishna tells Arjuna that neither actions nor action result connection is not done by the Lord. Then how are these action and action result binding formed? Moving to question 4. In chapter 5, verse 27, which starts off as Sparshan Kritva Bahirbahyan, a method of how to focus the sight amongst other factors which lead to mukti, which is liberation. Where should the sight be focused on as per this verse? Last question for this section. In 6.8, Jnana Vijnana Triptatma, a yogi treats three things equally in symbolic manner. What are the three things mentioned here? Now we will be moving on to the type 2 questions. These are to be answered in 20 words or lesser. So longer answers over here will be rejected. The first question is for chapter 5, verse 18. Krishna gives a characteristic of a Pandita or Jnani in terms of his view of diverse people. What is his view? Next question. Who has ascended to yoga, yoga rudha, as per verse 6.4? Question 3. In famous verse 6.5, Uddharet Atmanatmanam, the word Atma is used with multiple meanings. What does this verse signify? Similarly, in 6.6, Bandhuratmatmanastasya also uses Atma in different meanings. What does this verse signify? Last question for this quiz. How should one meditate as per verse 10 to 12? That brings us to the end of the mini Gita quiz for session 6. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ananya, for that wonderful conducting of the quiz. And thank you for your initiative that you could actually join the quiz from India just within 2 hours of landing in India. Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So now we go over to the final section for today's session. This will be the concluding mantras. This will have various Upanishad mantras, Shanti mantras, and all that. So this will be done by Padmini Ji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhanvantaramurtaye Amrita Kalasha Hastaya Sarvamaya Vinashanaya Trailokya Nathaya Mahavishnave Swaha. Om Achyutaya Namaha, Om Anantaya Namaha, Om Govindaya Namaha, Om Achyutaya Namaha, Om Anantaya Namaha, Om Govindaya Namaha, Om Achyutaya Namaha, Om Anantaya Namaha, Om Govindaya Namaha. Vasudeva Sutan Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Ayena vacha manasendriyairva buddhyatmana va prakrite swabhavat karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai narayanayeti samarpayami. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. 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 Om.
Hari Om. Thank you, Padmini Ji, for the concluding verses, and thank you to everybody. So today's session, the formal part of the session is completed. The next, see you all at the next session on session 7 on the 25th, 2 weeks from today, 25th of June. And now we can actually move over to the we'll stop sharing, and I will also enable people to ask questions so that you can unmute yourself and ask the questions. Yeah, and meanwhile, I request everybody to enable your videos so that we can take a small snapshot. Could you all enable your videos, please? Do you enable your videos, please? Those who have not yet done. Yeah, I think that is enough for photography. So now the field is open to the audience to ask questions. Anybody who wants to ask any questions, you can.
So I just saw a question here.
Yeah.
Take us through the abbreviation. Is it that pramana sambhavana, prameya sambhavana, viparita bhavana? Is that what you're? May I know who is written this?
This is Rajesh, I think. Rajesh, right?
That's right, Rajesh. Yeah, correct. I just want you to take through the last session of the last few things which you taught about the FIR and the one before that.
Oh,
So
FIR. Okay, let me get the. Okay. So only the FIR, or you want the this Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, all that also you want?
I think the beginning of that basically, and you end with the FIR. I think you started with A, B, C, D,
So
E, F.
So as you know, Jnana Yoga is Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, right? So Shravanam is going to a teacher and consistently study the scriptures for a length of time. Okay, so by repeated Shravanam, what happens is the Shraddha to study and believe in what the Upanishad says increases, and that is called as Pramana Asambhavana. Means the doubts that I have whether what the Shastra say is true or not, what the Guru say is true or not. We all have that kind of doubt, right? So Shravanam, repeated Shravanam removes that, and that is called as Pramana Asambhavana. So by Pramana Asambhavana, so we lose that, we gain faith, and then the doubt gets cleared. But even though I have developed Shraddha, to the Guru and the scriptures like Upanishad, but still the mind tosses up. That's what I said. So that goes by consistent mananam, which removes the other kind of doubts, and they are called as prameya asambhavana. The doubts at the mananam stages is really God there, and how can I feel that God in me is one? When the Tattvamasi Mahavakya declares that in essence, you, the Jiva, and that Paramatma are one and the same, when they say we are not able to, abide in that. So those doubts get cleared by mananam, continuous reflection. And even after Shravanam and Mananam, what happens is we all have lots of kashayas, that's what I said, kashaya nivritti, right? So there are erroneous notions that pop up only when my mind becomes quiet in the seat of meditation. So at that time, what we can do is, if I identify one of those negative thing that has come, then mind will take me for a ride. So that's why we said that, you just observe it, do not judge it and disregard it. And that is called as Vipirita Bhavana Nivritti. So why we have, those kashayas, so those negativities and all mixed emotions we have is because we have been carrying notions from thousands of previous births, and they all pop up only in the seat of meditation. So for that Nididhyasanam is given, and then what FIR, what I said was, let me get the proper one.
I think it's frequency, intensity, and recover.
Yeah, how frequently my mind gets disturbed, and what is the intensity of the disturbance and how quickly I can recover back my reaction. So FIR is that. How quickly I can recover back
Recover.
from the disturbed mind.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the one.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the question. And anybody else? Any questions? Rajesh ji, Rajesh Anand is available. Is he here?
No, that's the same question which I addressed to Mataji.
Yeah.
Krishna ji, you asked about me, right?
Yeah. I asked about you.
I'm there. I'm on the iPhone. So, what to say, about the scholarly wisdom she has provided. And she quoted one of my favorite shlokas, Vidya Vinay Sampane Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaivasha Pake Cha Pandita Samdarshina. And this should actually set at rest every controversy about, lower caste, upper caste, etc. Because Krishna is picking up Chandal, the Swapake, the dog eater. And he is saying the same Brahma is there in every entity. And a shloka before that has become also my favorite, Tad Brahma, Tad Atmana, Tan Nishtha, Tat Parayana.
Yeah.
Gyan Nirdhut Kalmasha. That is another beautiful verse where Shri Krishna is telling, you connect with me, you become devoted, you take shelter under me. So in a way, in every chapter, it is the same knowledge. But one of the early verses from chapter 5, Gyan Vigyan Yog, Karm Sannyas Yog, one of the early verses which I really relished was Shaknoti hi yashodhum praksharira vimokchanat kama krodhat bhavad vegam sayukta sa sukhi naraha. And this is such a practical verse. Who will remain peaceful and who will remain happy? Shri Krishna gives a simple formula that one who has learned to control the forces of lust and anger, forces of desire and anger. So Krishna ji, you will agree with me, this is such a practical wisdom where Lord Krishna is saying, before the person relinquishes his body, if he can control the forces, that means he admits everybody is subjected to desires and anger, but one who can control the forces, he alone can remain happy and peaceful. Thank you so much, Krishna ji. You give me a chance every time to say something.
Because we want different kinds of viewpoints.
We can learn from Jnani Mahatmas, right? They see that Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma so much, like one Maharashtrian saint. He that Eknath Maharaj was eating a piece of chapati, and then a dog comes and takes it away. And this Jnani Mahatma, this Bhakta goes behind that doggy to pour some ghee into it so that he doesn't feel the dryness of the chapati. So this is that Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. They see the oneness, and that is our goal also. To reach, yes.
Also the Vidya Vinay Sampane, because the dog is mentioned. So Sant Eknath has actually lived it through and demonstrated the practicals. Thank you so much.
One more also, like one donkey was, really as though it was collapsing, and everybody was taking Ganges water from north to the south to do Abhishek in Rameshwaram. Whereas this Maharashtrian said that, no, I better feed the donkey now, or else it will lose the body, it will die. So such is their connection with every being of creation. So,
wow. Yeah, that's called Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. So that is what is being said in so many places,
So
in
many.
Bhagavad Gita. So many places. Yeah, Ushaji, I have one question about this, the verse 27 and 28. There is this Sparshan Krutva Bahir Bahyan Chakshus Chaivantar Antare Bruho. So this Chakshus Chaivandare Bruho. So how do you really perceive it?
Actually, I have heard my Acharya saying that, if you try to focus in between the eyebrows, right?
Yeah.
He said you will get a headache. He says that the moment your mind becomes quiet, and the eyes will automatically fall into that. You don't need to do anything. As we quieten our mind, it falls into that. It is as though you are focusing between the eyebrows, but we should not do it purposefully anything, because that way we are concentrating on that. And he was saying that you will get a headache also. Yeah. So that is that just it is figurative only.
But I've heard some people commenting about it as, the Ajna Chakra, focusing on the Ajna Chakra and all that, so I don't know whether that is.
Yeah, that's what even for us, we don't believe in, Vedantins, we don't believe in that chakra and Kundalini power and all that, right? So I wouldn't know much about it. I wouldn't know. Definitely there is that Ajna Chakra is there. Yeah.
No, actually, each one is a different school of philosophy.
Yes.
Each one follows a different thing.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
it's better not to
Correct.
bring one into another and say why it is not here or there.
As-
If you're taking Nyana Marga, just proceed and and
As-
say only Nyana is superior. That's it.
As our mind quietens, and dropping all the roles when we sit, the eyes fall into its own, closes by itself. I think we don't need to do anything there.
And the other thing is also, I think we don't question the beliefs of all philosophies. Each one follows their own. So if they're satisfied with it, because like somebody in Tamil saying that everybody is in a ladder in different stages. So the man who is on a particular ladder step cannot condemn somebody who's below or cannot appreciate somebody above, because each one is a different level. That's why the beauty of our Sanatana Dharma, it provides avenue for everybody, not one single stricture for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, correct. Absolutely correct. There are so many ways and so many means of reaching the Supreme for us. Is there any other question by anybody else?
Okay, incidentally, let me get the cat out of the bag. Next session will be addressed by Sri Rajesh Anandji.
Oh, I see. Oh, great.
Okay, so those who are listening here, he has agreed, kindly consented. So he will be talking in the session 7 next week, next fortnight.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Ji.
Hari Om. So if there are no further questions, we will close this session for today. We thank our guest of honor for today, our Brijesh Ji, and our wonderful speaker, Usha Ji, and all the beautiful chanters and the hosts for the quiz, as well as all the participants in today's session. So thank you to everybody, and we offer everything as our own offering to Lord Krishna's at his lotus feet. Thank you.
Once again, I'd like to say there's a clear Karma Yoga demonstration today, because KKG is attending a wedding, but he has made special efforts to come to PGP Hall. That's why he's here, a different background. That's
it's actually PGP
meeting room.
The
meeting room.
Yeah.
And he's switching between, he didn't attend the wedding upstairs, but concentrating on this. So
I attended the wedding, the actual wedding time I attended. And after that, I came down here for the rest of the stuff.
I hope they're keeping food for you.
Yeah. No, today I'm on fast, so I'm not eating anything. Today, Ekadashi. So I'm just having coffee.
Yeah. Okay. Another thing that I'd like to announce to everyone, share the information to everybody, that our Gita Havan will be back in full galore, and it will be on 31st July at PGP Hall. So we request you to spread the information, because we have had to curtail it for the last 2 years, because on a very small scale, coinciding with the Moksha Yadasi Parayan. But now we are back in full glory. So please do mark the date, 31st July, Sunday, and come to PGP Hall. And we request you to spread the word around so that we have the full attendance filling up the hall. Thank you.
Hari Om. So see you all the next session, 2 weeks from today. Hari Om.
Yeah.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Bye.